Today's Q&A is about vegan restaurants, and the question is like this. In our town, we don't have enough people who keep kosher to support a regular kosher restaurant. So the question is, can I eat at a non-kosher vegan restaurant, since I know that they don't have any meat, fish, or cheese? So does that mean that I can eat there and everything's kosher? So the answer is, it's true that if they don't have meat, fish, and cheese, you're going to avoid some very serious potentially serum, and which is great. That's definitely better than nothing, but by no means does that mean that the food's going to be kosher. And that's because there's at least 3 ways that the vegan food can be non-kosher. And the first is that one of the staples at a vegan restaurant is salads and other greens, and most of those things require checking and washing to make sure they're free of insects. Of course, vegans don't want to eat insects either. That's true, and they probably wash their vegetables as well. That's true. But there are small insects that will stay behind unless you do some kind of a more serious and more intense cleaning, which is what a hashgacha would provide them with, the directions and the oversight to make sure they actually do that. So if a person eats vegetables at a vegan restaurant, they are likely eating bugs with those vegetables that they're eating. Second thing is that grape juice and wine, which are not mavushal and touched or moved by someone who's not Shem Shabbos, they become forbidden estam yain. So those items are they're vegan, so they might be served or used as ingredients, and they are not kosher. And the last is that any food which is not edible raw and which is fit to be served to distinguished guests, we call that oila shochem lachem. That food is only kosher if a Jewish person is part of the cooking of that food. So it's called bishalakim, and it applies to a lot of the starches that might be served at a vegan restaurant, like rice, potatoes, pasta, quinoa. All of those are food that need to be bishul yisrael. So the ingredients per se might be kosher, but the preparation at the restaurant turns them into becoming non-kosher. What I mentioned until now, the 3 issues that I mentioned are particular for vegan restaurants. A vegetarian restaurant, which is a little bit different, could serve cheese, and that would raise another issue called kvinas akum, which is that midrabanan, a Jewish person has to participate in the creation of hard cheeses, and therefore that would be a concern for vegetarian restaurants. Vegans don't eat cheese or anything else from living beings, so they don't have that particular issue. Now, probably if a person went into a vegan restaurant, they could find some dishes on the menu that have none of these issues. I'm not sure exactly what, but they could probably find something to eat that wouldn't have any of these issues, but that would raise an overall issue of the kalim, which is to say is that the food that I'm eating was made in the same pot and the same knives, etc., as the non-kosher food. Then non-kosher tam, the taste of the non-kosher food that was absorbed into those dishes, could spread into my food. So not only can that be an issue at the restaurant itself, that they might have cooked my food in the same pots as somebody else, as food that was not kosher, but it also could happen at the factory where the ingredients are made. Like, for example, they might use vegetable oil, but it was deodorized on the same equipment as animal fat, or the vegan, imitation cheese that they use is made on equipment that's also used for milk-based cheese. So these are all things that, excuse me, Mishkiach would look out for to make sure that those ingredients were kosher, truly kosher. And it's something that in a vegan restaurant, there's not, or if in the hashgacha in a vegan restaurant, they could look for that as well. But if it does not have hashgacha, you'd be missing these. And therefore, we would not recommend a vegan or a vegetarian restaurant without hashgacha, even if the menu happens to, at first glance, seem to be more kosher friendly.